In 2016, Bernie Sanders, I think, proved that you don't need to take big donor money in order to run for president, as long as you have strong ideas and a grassroots movement. But the question is, will other Democrats learn from that and do the same thing in 2020? I think it's clear that some will and some won't. So it's someone like Beto O'Rourke, if he's running, or Joe Biden, if he's running. I think they're clearly going to take corporate PAC money, big donor money. They're going to have super PACs that are funding their campaigns, but that's why you can't trust them. We've seen year after year after year, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, if they're taking big donor money, they simply listen to their donors and they ignore the voters. But someone like Elizabeth Warren, who may not be as progressive as Bernie Sanders, but I think is the number 2 progressive in the race, will she or will she not take big donor money? Well, it appears we have our answer in her response on Rachel Maddow on MSNBC.
I don't think of this so much in terms of party. I think of this as people who want to see change and the kind of change they want to see. This is going to be the Fisher cut bait year for the Democrats. And it's going to be, how do we think government should work and who do we think government should work for? In fact, let me give you an example of that. Just think about this upcoming Democratic primary. Is this going to be a Democratic primary that truly is a grassroots movement that is funded by the grassroots, that's done with grassroots volunteers? Or is this going to be something that's just one more plaything that billionaires can buy? So I think this is a moment for all of the Democratic nominees as they come into the race to say, in a Democratic primary, we are going to link arms and we're going to say grassroots funding. No to the billionaires. No to the billionaires, whether they are self-funding or whether they're funding PACs. We are the Democratic Party, and that's the party of the people. That's how we not only win elections, that's how we build movements that make real change. And that's what we've got to do. We got to win, but then we got to produce. And that's only going to happen if we've got a whole movement underway.
When you talk about billionaires in the Democratic primary, Tom Steyer is considering running. Michael Bloomberg is apparently considering running. Do you specifically mean that anybody who's a billionaire should be precluded from running?
Of course not. I just mean that people should not be self-funding. And they should not be funded from PACs from other billionaires. That a primary is an opportunity to hear from the grassroots, to see what you can build, to see what kind of energy is out there. Get out there. Trust your message. Trust what it is that you're fighting for. And if someone else wants to fight for something different, trust them to get out there and fight it. And then let's see where grassroots America is. Let's see where people across this country say, you know what? I want to be part of this. I am in this fight all the way.
All right, there you go. It appears that she is not taking any corporate PAC money, any big donor money, any billionaire money, but she is going to run on a grassroots movement of small donor donations. So she is using the Bernie Sanders model and trying to grow a grassroots movement in her run for president. And I think that's brilliant. Now, you have to understand, this is a big move. It's a risk because there's no guarantee that Elizabeth Warren is going to get as much support financially from small donors as, say, Bernie Sanders will if he runs or did last time. So there is always a guarantee that if you take big donor money, the big donor money will come, especially if you're a high-profile name like Elizabeth Warren. But if you are a high-profile name like Elizabeth Warren and you don't take big donor money, there is that risk that people may support somebody else. They may think, hey, I already gave $27 to Bernie Sanders. I don't want to give to your campaign as well because I want Bernie to win, or I want to give to somebody else. I don't want to give to Warren. But she's taking that risk. So she deserves serious credit for running or for trying to now run on a grassroots movement and not accepting billionaire money. I also think it's really cool that she mentioned there that whether it's self-funding or raising. So she is directly going after the potential billionaires like Tom Steyer or like Bloomberg and their potential runs for president, because billionaires I mean, look, it's one thing if you're a billionaire and you have a fantastic message and you have a proven record of strong progressive policy, of looking out for real people. But it's another thing if you're in the race and you self-fund it because you were only there because you're a billionaire. If you're a billionaire and you have to use your own money and other billionaires' money in order to run your race, that shows to me a severe lack in enthusiasm for your actual message, for your actual platform. So we're going to see if these billionaires run. Now, I actually don't think we're going to see them run. I don't think billionaires are really going to be much of a conversation for 2020. Unless possibly someone like Bernie Sanders does win the nomination and then Bloomberg is like, screw this, I'm going to put my hat in there as a third party guy. But I also don't really see that happening because that would potentially screw it for the Democrats. So I kind of see, I don't think this is the year of the billionaires. I don't think 2019 or 2020, I don't think billionaires are going to have a good shot, even if they do try to run. So I think this is a smart move by Elizabeth Warren to work or to run on a grassroots movement. And what it also does is it sets the standard for other Democrats that are now about to announce. So Elizabeth Warren is the first big name to announce her run, and she is not taking big donor money. So now if someone like Kamala Harris comes out, or Cory Booker comes out, or Kirsten Gillibrand comes out, and any of these Democrats, or Joe Biden comes out, and any of them start taking or do accept big donor money, they can now be questioned on that position because Elizabeth Warren, as the leader here, as the first one out of the gate, she is setting a standard both in terms of policy, her progressive policy, but also in terms of how she is running. So by setting that standard, you now force, hopefully, at least some of the media to bring up the question on, well, Elizabeth Warren's not taking big donor money. Why are you taking big donor money? How can people possibly trust your message when you are taking billionaire money and Elizabeth Warren isn't? Why would somebody trust you who's taking that money over Elizabeth Warren or over Bernie Sanders? So that is a potential. Now, of course, part of that relies on the media asking that kind of question, but also people are getting wiser and people are understanding. They're reading more. They understand that politicians are corrupted by money, by the relationships, not even just the money, but by the relationships with billionaires and corporations. So when you begin questioning that, it informs a larger audience. And you see a movement like Bernie Sanders, you see him be able to grow that movement back in 2016 based on that idea. The idea that, yes, of course, money impacts politicians. Money corrupts politics. So by having at least now two options, if Bernie runs, by having both Bernie and Elizabeth Warren being two clear voices that aren't taking big donor money, there are now multiple options for people in the 2020 race. So it's going to be interesting, for lack of a better word, to see how this all plays out. But I actually think this is going to give Elizabeth Warren a huge boost. And you know what? People keep talking about how, oh, Warren might split the vote if Bernie runs. I'm actually less worried about that. I think there's a potential here to have both Bernie and Elizabeth Warren fighting it out till the end. These are two incredibly popular politicians. And I think Elizabeth Warren, even though her popularity has been down more recently, I think she has the potential to gain more support because of how strong her message is, because of how strong her platform is. So she's been a strong voice, introducing fantastic bills like her anti-corruption bill, a bill putting workers' voices on the boards of large companies, and a bill for a public option on generic drugs, to have the government actually produce generic drugs to keep costs down. So she has a number of fantastic proposals already on the table. This is somebody who is absolutely, I think, a strong candidate if you look at them on the issues. Now, you could debate the politics of it. Of course, you could end to the end of time about how Elizabeth Warren should have endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016. But if you just look at Elizabeth Warren on the actual issues, on the policy, and on her strategy here, and on her history on the issues and pushing these issues forward, and see her push back against like banking executives, you understand that Elizabeth Warren is somebody that is willing to fight for you. And I think that's even more clear now that she has decided to not take any big donor money.